I believe in more of a socialist government. I believe in giving a voice to oppressed.
Socialist.
Again,
this is another scary word that you use, socialist.
I don't think that it's a bad thing. It's not.
Really? You don't think that socialism is a bad thing? Again, I mean, you got to understand me.
Right.
I was 29 when I came to America, so it's not like I was a little kid who really knows about socialism from the books, from your parents.
Can you help me out here? Hi, this is my friend Vladimir.
Hey, how are you?
Vladimir?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's go.
He grew up in the USSR.
Correct.
And he's just a little frightened of the word communist.
A little bit.
He's frightened of the word, well, not frightened of the word, but the word communist. Here, I'll hand some of these.
I mean, it has only one connotation to me, and it's not a good connotation. So when I see, revolution and stuff like that, I'm getting a little bit, I don't know, apprehensive, let me put it this way.
Understood.
So how is this communism or socialism different than, let's say, communism, socialism that I came from?
Okay, you came from where?
USSR.
That was not communism. That was not socialism.
It was not.
That was state capitalism.
But, I mean, when I lived over there, and I wasn't a little kid when I left, I was 29, they kept on saying we are a socialist country. We are this close to communism, like Khrushchev especially, he said by 1980.
Khrushchev was what we call a revisionist.
Okay.
We represent what we call a new communism. And in fact, she took these palm cards from me. So, yes, there was tremendous. We do not support or uphold what is represented as communism in the old Soviet Union. Before 1956, there were some very important things that developed there.
Well,
but also,
I mean, the period between what, Lenin and Stalin?
Yeah.
Until the death of Stalin.
Stalin made some very, very bad mistakes. Some of them philosophical, some theoretical, some of them were just outright wrong.
Like what?
Oh, like suppression of dissent. Let's put it that way.
But that's how it started from day one. That's kind of, again, confusing to me. I'm all for democracy, but it seems like as soon as Lenin started his revolution, the first thing that he did was the dictatorship of proletariat. It wasn't a democracy of proletariat. It was dictatorship of a proletariat. So, I mean...
We live under a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. So there are two kinds of dictatorships. Dictatorship is not an individual. Dictatorship is the rule of a particular class of people. I'm sure you heard these kind of terminology over the great majority. When they began the Russian Revolution, there was on a very important basis. Okay? Lenin also made mistakes, but at the same time, Lenin overall was trying to achieve a certain. He was trying to go someplace, then he got assassinated. Okay, or he got shot. We are mainly. We are mainly. We learned from what happened in China with Mao Zedong.
Are you Chinese? Are you Korean?
Doesn't matter whether I'm Chinese
I'm just
or
curious.
Not. Doesn't matter whether I'm Chinese or not. Forget that. Put that aside. Okay. I'll tell you my ethnicity later on.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with being Chinese. Okay.
I think it's a little bit irrelevant. I'm sorry for interrupting you because, I'm from Russia. I can relate to Russian history, to Russia. I lived over there. I detect some sort of accent, so I assume that you were not born here. So I'm
third generation American, okay? Really? So it doesn't really matter.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Then I guess my English is not
my
good enough.
My great-grandparents settled in this country.
Oh, okay. Got it.
1800s, okay?
1800s,
so,
okay.
Let's put that aside.
Sure.
Okay? I am not white. Let's put it that way. That's very clear.
All right.
All right? So the question would be is that we are talking about a new communism that's being put forth. And it's not some pie in the sky. It's actually understanding. We are not going to be able to resolve this right now with you and I just standing here discussing it. But you should check out this guy named Bob Avakian. He has studied, and when I say study, he's actually seriously looked into the experience in the Soviet Union, the experience in revolutionary China. He understood in terms of how Mao Zedong criticized Stalin's conception of social society and how he went about things. There's several things. One was that it's too much religiously based. Two is that
religiously, you mean socialism was based on religion? That's what you're saying? I'm confused a little bit.
No, it sounds confusing.
Okay.
It's sort of like being very dogmatic.
Because, it's a different word, because God was dead in the USSR as far as I'm concerned.
When I say religiously, there are people who are so dogmatic They cannot see reality.
I see. Okay.
So that's what part of the
theoretical
problem.
sense. Okay.
Yeah, theoretical sense.
Got it. Okay.
It was real. He also had a very inflexible understanding how to deal with dissension, because at that time,
Dissent. You mean dissension? Dissent.
Yeah,
You're talking about Stalin or Mao or both?
I'm talking about Stalin.
Stalin. Okay.
Mao understood this. Mao actually criticized it.
But let me interrupt you for 1 second. The funny thing is that again, coming from USSR, you know history a little bit. There were a lot of people, especially those who started the revolution, who were hardcore revolutionaries. Sure. Maybe even more so than Stalin himself. They were not dissenters, and yet they were murdered by Stalin. I mean, how did that happen? Virtually every single one of them was murdered. I mean, not virtually, every single one of them. He even reached out to Mexico and murdered the person who actually did make revolution happen. Trotsky. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's... That's why we're criticizing it.
Okay.
All right? The question is, how do you have a socialist society that is on the move towards communism? I'm going to deal with the broad strokes right now.
Sure, I understand. Right.
At the same time...
But the ultimate goal is communism.
Real communism.
Okay.
Communism is not some religious thing where somehow it is some great heaven in the sky. It is based on struggle where mankind is trying to understand reality and change reality.
So what would be the end result of communism? I mean, in your mind, what will communism look like? Let's say if we implement Bob Avakian's theory into practice and succeed, what will communism, what would living in communism look like?
Communism is constantly changing, just like society is constantly changing. In terms of like, you have basically what we call the 4 Alls. Listen to what I'm saying.
Sure.
The 4 Alls, what we call the 4 Alls. We want to begin the process of eliminating the differences between the city and the countryside. There's one of the dichotomies in society. We want to eliminate the vast inequality between men and women. We want to eliminate the vast difference between people who use their brains to work versus people who use their hands. So we want to begin changing that and integrating that. And I can't remember what the 4th one was. But anyway, Mao Zedong understood that. He actually had theoretical documents talking about this is where we need to go. But at the same time, he looked at what the Soviet experience was. This is not where we want to go. Okay. Now he also made mistakes.
But what they're describing is exactly what Pol Pot did in Cambodia.
No, I don't know why you bring that up. It has nothing to do with Pol Pot. Pol Pot was based on the politics of revenge.
I see. Okay.
We're not for revenge.
I see.
We as new communists do not believe. You know, you heard the term turning the tables, or the first shall be last and the last shall be first?
Not really. What?
In other words, if you're the last in line, you know, under socialism, you're going to be first in line, and therefore everybody else who are privileged will be on the bottom. In other words, the people on the bottom would become on top, and the top will become the bottom.
But what about merit? I mean, without any merit, just like that?
Well, you can't eliminate that overnight, but at the same time, you need to take that into account.
So you want to eliminate merit?
Merit or merit?
No, merit. Merit-based system.
Well, the merit-based system will be part of the overall society. We have to begin changing people's attitude towards that. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 50 years.
But the ultimate goal is to eliminate merit, like merit-based system, right?
Sure, where people begin to say, okay, you got to start to integrate it so the people who work with their hands also begin to work with their brains. And the people who work with brains also begin to work with their hands. You want to begin eliminating that kind of dichotomy.
But what if, I mean, I'll be blunt, what if you're stupid? You know what I mean?
Okay,
how are we work with
you're
the brain?
raising a question that is something that people need to deal with. Okay, the thing is that, let's look at it overall. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is that if you think that this is something that you want to critique, come and critique what we got to say, but I can't explain it right now standing up talking to you. One of the things you can begin
just common sense. I mean,
I'm not trying to insult. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm trying to say.
No, I understand.
Let's be clear.
I got your point. Sure.
There'll be other people I'll be talking to, but at the same time, they'll be raising questions like you are. I can only tell you right now, if you really seriously want to get into discussion, you know, look at what this guy Bob Avakian is putting out seriously, and how to also take things in a scientific basis and critique how to change society. Understanding society is something that's real, and we need to look at that and not pretend that we fabricate a new reality. In other words, there's no such thing as proletarian truth. That's one of the things that came out of the socialist experience. There's class truth, there's proletarian truth. There's bourgeois truth. No, we as new communists, or revolutionary communists, there's only one truth. That's reality. And part of the mistakes and some of the criminal things that were done in the name of communism must be faced by us, because if we're going to assume that mantle, we also need to critique and look at those mistakes.
But how are we going to achieve that? That's another kind of question.
Okay, well, I can't explain that right now.
How are we going to start? How are we going to proceed? I mean, the revolution, in my mind, always presupposes, I'll read it.
Start with that.
Presupposes, the death of innocent people. I mean, by definition of the word revolution, it's like armed struggle. You're going to use...
how we defend revolution is that it bring upon a new system, not just a governance, but a system that's begin to eliminate the vestiges of inequality.
But what if somebody disagrees? Like, let's say if I disagree, what are you going to do? How are you going to convince me? Because we're trying to have a dialogue over here, and I'm trying to use common sense.
Legitimate question. There is such a thing called, you should go to a website and look at the new constitution for the new Socialist Republic of North America.
Socialist Republic, okay.
It's a draft constitution. You will see that in terms of how do you deal with dissension, because in the new society, we have to actually give a lot of play to dissension, to the point of what we call being quartered, drawn and quartered. In other words, you have to take the risk, allow people who have vehement disagreements with you to have voice. Even give them money so they can actually put out their position, so that all of society can be engaged in a huge dialogue on these kind of questions.
But how do you deal with the people who don't want to be engaged? That's kind of, the fundamental
They have
thing.
the right not to be engaged too.
But when it comes to the revolution, every time when the revolutions happen, they kind of eliminate the dissent, they squelch it.
See, that's what I'm saying. What we're putting out is in contradistinction to that. We identify it, we criticize it, and we say this is the other way of doing it.
But if I still disagree, what are you going to do?
You have the right to disagree. Unless you are, out there fomenting counter-revolution, you could be Trump. As long as you are not fomenting racist attacks on people, you'll be given a platform to put out your misguided positions, and we'll have debate over that question.
Okay, well, but what if, let's say, I'm vehemently against Bob Avakian? Again, being devil's advocate.
You can be.
You can be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we put our thoughts about this in writing.
Okay.
So you can say, hey, yo, you put this in writing. Are you serious? Are you serious about this? Yes, we are.
So do you believe, the communism, the ultimate goal of communism, the communist society is the one that is borderless, where there's a total equality? Is this kind of the ultimate goal of a country with no borders?
Well, that's years from now.
But that's the ultimate, I understand, but that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, humanity will begin to interplay with each other. There will be no such thing as inequality, because there will be no such thing as equality. People will be doing things on the basis of, oh, you need this, let me help you.
But what if, again, being devil's advocate, what if, I'm sure you know a lot of people who are, some are more industrious and some are just plain lazy. How are we going to deal with that?
Moral incentive.
Moral. What if they don't care?
Moral incentive.
What if they still don't care? What are you going to do?
Moral incentive, unless they are counter-revolutionary.
They still don't care. Let's say they're counter-revolutionary. What are you going to do with them?
There will be people. There may be people who are homeless. There may be people who are like hippies. You know what hippies are?
Yeah.
Alternative society.
Right.
You got to deal with them.
So Bob Avakian has nothing. He's not against that, right? They'll be allowed to coexist.
And we will have dialogue with them and try to say, well, hey, is this the right way to go?
Like re-education camps or something like that?
No.
No.
That's wrong.
Okay.
You cannot force ideology on people.
That's good. I agree with that, 100%.
You cannot have labor camps and force ideology on people. You cannot have society like, even in China, you cannot have an official ideology. You cannot say that we're all atheists, therefore you cannot practice religion, even if you are religious. Because you have to give the people that right. if they're going to stop being religious, be based on promoting a scientific basis and throughout society understand the world.
But then how is this kind of ultimate Avakian's communism would be different than what we have now, like pluralistic democracy, republic?
We're facing fascism right now as we speak. So this is a consequence of capitalism.
Okay, well, let's assume that that's the case. But 8 years before that, how would you characterize the 8 years of Obama? Was it fascist? Was it? I mean, what was it?
Fascism. This is why I'm going to have. I can't answer all your questions like this. You should actually check out some of these videos. They're free. You can check it out. He has other writings on this question. But frankly, fascism is now being consolidated in this country. The beginnings of this fascism began with Richard Nixon. Okay, so we're going back to the late 60s, early 70s.
But what about Obama? Let's assume
Obama was just as guilty.
Just as guilty. Yes.
Obama was the biggest deporter of immigrants.
Was he a fascist? I mean, is there kind of progression or regression, I guess, in your view from Nixon?
He was not an overt fascist like Trump is.
But he was a fascist. So Obama was also a fascist.
I would say that he was a liberal imperialist. A liberal imperialist.
And what's the difference between him and fascist then?
Fascists believe in the open, blatant iron fist in society.
Fascism.
Yeah.
But that's how it was in USSR, actually. I mean, they didn't call themselves fascists; they called themselves communist socialists.
Did I just say that we did not agree with that?
Yeah, but then the communism, let's say the Soviet type, and the fascism is one and the same thing, right?
They stopped being anything close to communism probably after 1956.
56. So Stalin's Soviet Union, you would call communist, like true ideals of communism? Seriously?
You forgot what I just said. We critiqued Stalin, and the thing is that he was wrong in how he analyzed society, and he made some serious mistakes. But some of which was criminal.
Well, criminal. I mean, we're talking about 50 million murdered, including this second, let's say 10 million, 20 million. I mean, it's in the millions.
You can state that, but let's look at the real record and look at some so-called academics in making that argument, and you see that they don't really have the real foundation making that argument. They just make shit up and they refer to each other's writings.
You're talking about the number of dead, of murdered people?
Yeah, but you know what? Like I said, no offense. I can't answer all your questions.
I understand. That's okay.
But if you're really serious, say, okay, I want to destroy these people.
What people?
Us. I want to go do research on what they're really saying. Let's look at what they're really saying. Okay. And where does the research come from?
I actually lived it. See, for you, it's a research. I spent almost 30 years living your dream.
I believe you.
Okay.
But also, same time,
survived it.
Are you willing to actually step out and do a critical analysis from an objective basis?
Well, I did, because to me, objectivity is a personal experience, not just reading Bob Avakian's book, but actually living in the nightmare of...
Okay, you have objective and subjective. Think about whether or not your perspective is actually more subjective than objective.
All right.
All right?
Okay.
All right.
Nice talking to you.
Listen, I'm not able to convince you, as you already know, but at the same time, if you really want to check it out, start with this movie. There's other films online. Okay. They're free. Sure. Okay?
All right.
Have a nice day.
Hey, here you are again.
Still talking to people. Good.
Yeah. Good idea, right?
They should move to another country. Why don't you like Trump? I'm just curious.
I love Trump.
Oh, you do?
Of course.
You try to talk to these people. I try to be nice. I'm just curious on why they didn't like Trump, and they told me I'm a fascist.
Well, that's the only argument that they have. I'm a hardcore Trump supporter.
Me too.
I'm a hardcore Republican.
Me too.
In fact, let me show you something. Look at this.
There you go. She tried to give me some literature. I told her
didn't see
garbage.
That? Okay.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy what these people think. You know.
I know. Well, thank God that they're the minority, you know.
Oh, God. But did the Democrats win the elections?
Yeah, they did. But you know, when you think, I was kind of a little bit depressed last night on the one hand.
Yeah.
But you know, on the other side, when you think about the Trump's kind of approach, he knew that it's impossible to hold the House.
Right.
He concentrated on the Senate side, and we did spectacularly well.
I think he's doing a good job. Listen, he's not perfect.
He's doing excellent job.
I think so.
He is probably, he will come into history as the best president we've ever had. I think so. My biggest fan, I mean, let's say in the past 100 years was Ronald Reagan. Coming from USSR, he's my hero.
Oh, where'd you come from?
USSR.
Oh, my ex-girlfriend was Russian.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I like Russian people. No wonder you're a good guy.
I don't like Russian people.
Some of them could be a little tough.
I'm an American.
You don't know. I respect that.
Otherwise, I would have stayed in Russia if I liked it. I hate Russia. A lot of evil comes from Russia.
Communism, right?
You know, communism, socialism.
And these idiots have the right to say what they want, but
and they call it fascism.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean,
I try to be nice. I just said, I'm just curious. Why don't you like Trump? And and the guy's like, stay away from him. He's a fascist. I was like, wow. I was like, Jesus.
You have to be smooth. I learned how to have like smooth approach. You know, watch something. Let me give you my card.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sam, I'm shooting these videos for a purpose, and became quite popular actually.
I'm gonna look. Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. My name is Tommy, by the way.
Sure, my name is Vladimir.
Nice to meet you, Vladimir.
Sure,
my pleasure. Good to meet like-minded people. And somebody coming from another country, and then you love your president. I respect that. You know what I mean? It's a melting pot. We all can come here, but you got to come in the right way.
Well, of course. I mean, what makes America the greatest country on earth to start with is we're all equal before the law.
That's right.
When you start off from day one by breaking the law,
right,
and you're condoned when doing that, then what will become of our country if everybody will keep on breaking the laws without any consequences?
It hurts the country.
We will become Honduras. We will become Guatemala.
Right.
We will
can't
become
have
Mexico.
That. Yeah. We need to protect it. That's why he says our country comes first, and it should.
Of course it should.
We help everybody. We try, but
we are actually helping everybody by allowing them to do business with us.
Right.
This is changing or helping them to become capitalist countries. I mean, look at China.
I know.
Look when Nixon went to China for the first time and opened Chinese market. Had the first kind of conversation, dialogue with Deng Xiaoping.
Yeah.
I mean, look at China today. I mean, unfortunately, the theory failed. The theory was that the more kind of prosperous China will become, the more benign it will be.
That's right.
Well, it turns out it's not working that way. Thank God Trump realized that, and now,
he's smart, Trump. You know what I mean?
He's very smart. He's a very smart.
He's there to say he's racist. He's not racist.
Are you kidding me?
It's ridiculous.
Are you kidding me?
It's ridiculous. I think these people are brainwashed.
Of course they are brainwashed.
But they think we are. It's funny. And I give that, everybody has an opinion, and, my opinion isn't always, for everybody. But, you try to talk to them and they curse at you.
Look, there's such a thing as a common sense.
Right.
When you talk to these people, they have zero common. A lot of people have zero common sense.
I went over very, very I just want to ask you, why don't you like Trump? And they right away they were like, get away. That's why I got mad.
Yeah, you should be.
Around their thing, tell them to go back to another country if it's so bad here.
Well, exactly. They don't love it or leave it.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
I agree.
And again, you're allowed to have dissent. That's why this America is so great.
We could talk, and in Russia back when you couldn't, if you said something bad about the president, you were dead.
I was summoned to KGB headquarters once because of doing things that were deemed as being anti-Soviet, anti-Soviet.
Wow.
That was the scariest day in my life.
That must have been, because you get killed. I met a guy, a young kid, 21, he had the Russian thing on his hand with the communist sign, and he says he likes communism. And I was like, well, why are you here? You like communism?
The problem with these people, look, I'm going on my 60th, okay? I'll be 60 next year.
Oh, you don't look it.
Well, thank you. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because I was almost 30 when I left the USSR, meaning I know firsthand what it's like living in a Soviet dictatorship.
Yeah.
All these little kids who were born afterwards, to them, they think that the glory of the Soviet Union can coexist with, let's say, shopping malls.
Right,
there were none in the USSR. That the glory of the past, the Russian Empire, can coexist with the blue jeans.
Yeah,
there were none back then.
Right.
Or freedom of travel.
Right.
There was none back then. And that's why, they think that, hammer and sickle, ha ha ha, kind of fun, the USSR.
Right.
But hey, it's
they don't know. They didn't live it.
It's either or.
Right.
It's either Soviet Union with all the draconian laws that were over there. And actually, honestly, I lived in the best part of it.
Okay.
After Khrushchev, Brezhnev, then Gorbachev.
Right.
Imagine living
Gorbachev was one of the better ones, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So he was more of a realist, let me put it this way.
Right.
But imagine living under Stalin regime. He murdered 50 million people, including the war dead.
I can't even believe
These
that.
little kids, had they been born in that part of Soviet history,
They wouldn't be saying that.
they would be one of those numbers.
Yeah, right,
You know?
exactly.
Oh, I want to go back to USSR. And it's, when I hear this argument among these people, it's like, oh, but today there's so many Russians who love USSR. Well, yeah, because a lot of them never lived in the USSR.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, see, they wouldn't understand. Like,
No,
when
they
you
wouldn't.
No,
No,
it's
they
like-
wouldn't.
It was my pleasure meeting you,
Sure,
my
my
friend.
pleasure.
Man. I hope I get to meet you. I got your card. I'm going to look you
Sure,
up. I'll
you
send
got
you
it.
a message.
All right.
God bless, man.
God bless. See ya.
Take care. Be careful.
I'm fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm fine.
Take care.
See ya.